Equip spells may not see as much action in Yu-Gi-Oh! Duels as they used to, but man, there's some crazy ones. I remember spamming combinations of Horn of the Unicorn and Axe of Despair back in the day to get some insane attack points, but today they do much more than that. We're gonna take a look at my top 10 equip cards that can be used in any Yu-Gi-Oh! Deck. Think you can guess the number 1 spot? Leave a comment and see if you were right at the end of the video. Let's get this thing started. Number 10. Big Bang Shot. The equipped monster gains 400 attack. If the equipped monster attacks a defense position monster, inflict piercing damage to your opponent. When this card leaves the field, banish the equipped monster. So this is a very simple equip card. Yes, you get 400 attack, but that's not the main benefit of this. The main benefit of Big Bang Shot is to get piercing damage. With the amount of defensive monsters out on the field, and the low defense points they tend to have, this is definitely a way to clear through opponents that are stalling or trying to set up a very big maneuver. Of course, having the card banished if this card's taken out is not necessarily a good thing, but piercing damage is always useful. Number 9. Gravity Axe Growl. The equipped monster gains 500 attack. Monsters your opponent controls cannot change their battle positions. So once again, not some crazy attack points, only 500 attack, which is useful in many situations, but the main benefit of this equip card is that your opponent's monsters can't move around. If they have to summon an attack position weak monster just to get the effect off, it's going to have to stay that way. If they get a effect that flips their monster face down, it's going to have to stay that way. This means your opponent's not going to necessarily be able to do as much as they would like to, and if they're trying to run flip cards, well, that's just not going to happen, is it? A very useful card, and extremely useful in specific situations. Number 8. Cursed Armaments. The equipped monster loses 600 attack for each monster you control. When this card is sent from the field to the graveyard, you can target one face-up monster your opponent controls and equip it with this card. So this card doesn't necessarily make yourself more powerful, but it weakens your opponent. If you're able to pull this card out before your opponent starts tearing away the monsters on your field, that means you could potentially drop your opponent's monsters by quite a bit of attack points. This is going to pair extremely well with tokens, pendulum monsters, and anything you can special summon to the field rather quickly, because if you somehow are able to fill your field with 4 or 5 monsters, that means your opponent is losing up to 3,000 attack points, which is quite a lot of attack points. An added benefit to this card stays in play for an extremely long time, especially if your opponent has the advantage. This means that when it's sent to the graveyard, your opponent can tribute the monster away, sacrifice it, find some way to get rid of it. But Cursed Armaments comes right back. You equip it to another monster your opponent controls, so as long as they have a target for this, Cursed Armaments will be around for the entire duel. Number 7. Dimension Guardian. Activate this card by targeting one face-up attack position monster you control. It cannot be destroyed by battle or card effects. If the targeted monster leaves the field, destroy this card. Now let's just hold on 1 second. I know this is not an equipped spell card. However, due to its description, it's essentially an equip card, so I decided to count it in this countdown. If you don't think it belongs in this type of countdown, well, throw a card like Mist Body in its place. Equipped monster cannot be destroyed by battle, whatever. But Dimension Guardian is very useful because it protects any card you have. Not only does it, stop it from being destroyed by battle, but even card effects. That means if you need to keep a monster on the field, it is staying. The only downside of this is that it's staying in attack mode, so you might lose some life points. But this is a great thing to throw in if you're not able to use any archetype-specific cards like Dragon Shield or Gaga Shield to protect monsters, and it can be extremely useful in many situations. Number 6. United We Stand. The equipped monster gains 800 attack and defense for each face-up monster you control. This is a very simple and very powerful equip card. You equip it to a monster, and just by being face-up, it gains 800 attack by itself. Not too bad, but considering every other monster you have on the field will increase it even further, it has a potential to stack up quite a bit of attack and defense points. If you have 5 monsters across the field due to tokens, pendulum summonings, or any other way of quickly getting monsters on the field, you will gain 4,000 attack and defense points on the monster this is equipped to. That's not bad. considering it's really easy to do. And even the lower version of this card is pretty strong too. Number 5. Mage Power. The equipped monster gains 500 attack and defense for each spell and trap card you control. Now, while United We Stand can gain 800, I think Mage Power is slightly more useful, because rather than relying on having more monsters on the field, you can essentially set every spell and trap card that you own on the field just to charge up Mage Power. So assuming you want to put 4 down, keep yourself an empty slot, you can get a monster up to 2,000 extra attack and defense just like that, without having to employ any special summoning mechanics or getting more monsters onto the field. It's extremely easy to use, and assuming you have at least 2 spell cards, it's still 1,000 attack and defense, which is also useful. Number 4. Megamorph. While your life points are lower than your opponent's, the equipped monster's attack becomes double its original attack. While your life points are higher, the equipped monster's attack becomes half of its original attack. Megamorph is probably my favorite card on this countdown because it has the highest potential out of everything on this list. I've probably told you the story about my Tyranno Infinity with 70,000 attack points, right? That's because of Megamorph. I got 35,000 attack points due to Tyranno Infinity's effect, and then doubled it to 70,000. Completely unnecessary in any situation, but just an example of how good this is. A more realistic example, let's take a Blue Eyes White Dragon. 3,000 attack points, not bad. You can double that to 6,000, which will do most of your opponent's life points, kill just about any monster I can think of, and if you are against a Blue Eyes White Dragon, then you can use Megamorph to cut its points in half, meaning it's only 1,500, turning a terrifying foe into just a regular weak monster. Number 3. Autonomous Action Unit. Pay 1,500 life points, then target one monster on your opponent's graveyard. Special summon that target to your side of the field in face-up attack position, and equip it with this card. When this card leaves the field, destroy the equipped monster. Now, I've only just heard about this card through making this countdown, but it seems pretty good to me, considering it's essentially a monster reborn that's allowed in the TCG. Yes, 1,500 life points is not exactly fun to pay, but it's the same price you'll be paying for a Solemn, which is always worth it as well. So this has 2 options. You can essentially summon a powerful monster from your opponent's grave onto your side of the field to just use it, or if you're playing against an opponent that uses their graveyard pretty heavily, you can take this monster out of their graveyard just so they don't use any of its effect or anything like that. So it's a card with multiple uses, and a very good... Number 2. Power of the Guardian. When an attack is declared involving the equipped monster, place 1 spell counter on this card. The equipped monster gains 500 attack and defense for each spell counter on this card. If the equipped monster would be destroyed by battle or card effect, you can remove 1 spell counter from your field instead. This is a new card that I'm both excited and terrified to see in battle. Now, considering it's so new and so powerful, I think there's a pretty good chance of it being limited, but let me tell you why. Because not only do you gain 500 attack for each spell counter, which you gain every time you attack or you are attacked, but you're not destroyed. Now keep this in mind, if you have any spell counter on the field, you won't be destroyed. If you're running a deck that uses spell counters, running 3 Power of the Guardians would be extremely handy because none of your monsters are ever going to get destroyed. Not only that, but Power of the Guardian has a thing where, you know, when an attack is involved and your opponent attacks, that adds a counter, and then you can use the counter to not be destroyed by battle, so you're essentially unkillable. And if you don't lose the battle, you'll just gain attack points. It's kind of good. It's kind of really good. And if you can continuously do attacks without your opponent fighting back, you will gain an absurd amount of attack and defense points. And many more turns that you can survive. Pretty much you just gotta kill Power of the Guardian. You're not hurting the monster. Number 1. Moon Mirror Shield. If the equipped monster battles an opponent's monster, during damage calculation, the equipped monster's attack and defense become equal to the attack or defense, whichever's higher, of the opponent's battling monster plus 100 during damage calculation only. If this face-up card is sent from the field to the graveyard, pay 500 life points. Place this card on either the top or bottom of your deck. When I first saw Moon Mirror Shield, I couldn't believe it was a real card. This card makes it so no matter what, when you fight an opponent's monster, you win. If they attack you, you win. If you attack them with an insane amount of defense points, you win. It doesn't matter what their attack points are. They could be a 70,000 attack point Tyranno Infinity. You would win. Because you get 100 more attack points than they have. Now, of course, that does leave monsters equipped with this card vulnerable to spell, trap, and effects. But, you know, maybe that would mean that number 2 on this countdown's actually better, but it's a new card. I don't know if it's going to be limited or banned or anything, and I haven't tested it out at all yet. And anyway, Moon Mirror Shield is pretty crazy. Because even if that monster is destroyed, you pay 500 life points and choose. You can put this at the top of your deck so you can just use it again, or the bottom of your deck if you need to draw something else. So it's not even going to limit you much like a Horn of the Unicorn might. It gives you the option. Do you want to get this card back, or do you really need something else right now? The reason Moon Mirror Shield is number 1 is because it does exactly what equipped cards are meant to do. Overpower your opponent. With the Moon Mirror Shield, you overpower any opponent, so it's pretty gnarly. Well, that's our top 10 countdown. Let me know if you agreed with everything in this list, and also make sure to comment down below anything we might have missed. There's a lot of good equipped cards, especially for specific situations, so I'd love to hear what your opinions are. Leave a like on the video if you have enjoyed, or a dislike if you think everything is wrong. But aside from that, hopefully you have enjoyed. Subscribe to the channel if you're new, and I'll see you next time.